Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 9th of July 2025. These are the stories that we will be highlighting through the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the latest as far as Gaza is concerned. A lot of speculation around the peace talks that are happening in Doha, whether they will come to fruition or not, because it seems as if in the meeting between Donald Trump and Netanyahu, the tilt of Netanyahu and his statements that emanated afterwards do not seem to indicate that there's some kind of peace deal, and if there is one, it will be at the cost of the two-state solution. Will that eventually happen? Will other countries across the world agree to that? Will Palestine agree to it, to a negation of the two-state solution that has been promised to the Palestinians since such time? To add to that misery is, of course, the whole issue of dearth of basic facilities, whether it be water, food, health, and what not. People are being killed, whether it be at the behest of organizations such as GHF, where even more aid workers, eight aid workers, ladies and gentlemen, have been killed today in the last 24 hours, let's put it that way. And the merciless killings continue to go on. We'll highlight that and more in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, today concerns the visit of the Turkish Foreign Minister and the Minister for National Defense in Pakistan. Both are here, both have met with the important leaders here. The National Defense Minister met with our Chief of the Air Staff. The National Defense Minister and our Foreign Minister also met with our Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh. A lot of important discussions and talks on collaboration between the two sides were discussed in the two sides. And of course, there's a mutual admiration or a mutual consent from both the sides to work towards strengthening of the bonds between both Turkey and Pakistan. This is going to be our second segment. Then we are going to talk about India. How can we not talk about India because of what it has been doing, whether it be destabilizing Pakistan or destabilizing its own country. Now Narendra Modi is and his government are deep in linguistic and religious hatred and propagating this religious and linguistic hatred across their own country, mind you, whether it be the propagation of the Marathi language, whether it be the negation of all that is Kashmiri or Urdu language. The list goes on and on, and that will be highlighted in our third story. Our fourth story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Haseena, who, as per an audio that has now been tested by BBC as well and confirmed through various tests, was in fact her, who authorized this crackdown on the student-led protests that happened last year. And this is extremely important and a very important development as far as the whole change in scenario in Bangladesh is concerned. This is going to be our fourth story. Our fifth story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Iran's Foreign Minister, Mr. Arakchi, as well as the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, who held fruitful talks in Jeddah. Not the first time that they've held talks. We all remember how China played a very important role in bringing these two countries together, and this is another step. In fact, Iran, it seems to want to strengthen ties with other Muslim nations as well, and this is a step in that direction. Finally, we'll be talking about June, the month of June, that has been the hottest month on the European calendar. I mean, it has also been the hottest month on different calendars. They say that globally this has been the third hottest June of all times, but for Europe it has been the hottest June of all times as well. We'll be highlighting that. Of course, climate change is to blame. Let's begin with our first segment, and since Gaza and all that is happening, peace talks, whether they will result in some tangible consequences. The meeting between Netanyahu and Donald Trump, what benefit did Netanyahu get? What did Trump manage to do during this meeting? In fact, there were two meetings, let's put it very blatantly. We've been joined by Dr. Saad S. Khan, who's the foreign affairs expert, right here in the studios. Thank you very much, Dr. Saad, to have joined us. Let's go directly to the questions. What are the main sticking points in this ongoing 60-day ceasefire proposal? That is discussions for which are going on right now in Doha as we speak, and how close, in your point of view, are both the sides, the Israeli and the Palestinian side, to bridge the remaining gaps?
The most important thing is that ceasefire is when there are two equals fighting, like Ukraine and Russia or Iran and Israel. This is a out and out genocide going on. So I would call it genocide, a small interval in the genocide that is taking place against the innocent Palestinians, where even food, even medicine, even water have been weaponized.
Yes.
So
Fuel has been weaponized. The hospitals are not getting fuel, so they cannot do the necessary. They cannot, take care of the patients as they need to do through the various procedures because of the lack of fuel.
That's exactly the case, because most of the hospitals have run out of electricity, and the whole Gaza is out of electricity. They run on generators, and when there is no fuel, the life-saving operations and procedures are unable to be carried out. In any case, as they have murdered several not several, but several hundred aid workers in the past 2 years. They have also murdered health workers and at least 23 doctors in the past 2 years. So important surgeons, medical superintendents and other senior medical officials have been murdered. Now it's very, very sad that again, instead of a full-fledged, stoppage of hostilities, the talks are merely on another 60 days interval. Like
when in fact, when the talks should be on a permanent ceasefire.
On a permanent ceasefire, and that's the major sticking point. What the Palestinian authorities are saying is that this 60-day ceasefire should lead to a permanent ceasefire, and there should be a guarantee in the ceasefire agreement that during these 60 days, there would be negotiation for a permanent settlement. That's number one, and that's something on which...
But that is also, there's also a huge question mark, Dr. Saad, as far as that is concerned. What are the humanitarian implications? You were talking of the issues that the Palestinians are facing in the form of the lack of different health facilities and basic facilities. What are the humanitarian implications of maintaining a temporary ceasefire without a long-term political solution?
That is exactly the second sticking point. The first one is about the permanence, but the second one is there is a US-based and Israeli-operated GHF, so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
8 aid workers were killed in the last 24 hours.
And 743 aid seekers have been murdered also in the past 2 months since the resumption of bombing on 18th of March in violation of the ceasefire. What the Palestinian side is saying is that all the aid should be distributed through United Nations or neutral agencies, not through the GHF. They are also requesting that the Israeli forces should be far, far away from the distribution centers, because almost every day aid seekers have been fired upon, and people who are either dying of hunger, and when they come there to collect the food, they are at the risk of being shot to death by the Israeli operatives. So they are saying that it should be United Nations or any other neutral body, and Israel is insisting that it would be through GHF. Now this is the second sticking point. The third major point is that Palestinians say that if they do not withdraw from Gaza in toto, at least the Israeli forces should withdraw to the 18th March position, when the last time the ceasefire was broken. Even Israelis are not willing to agree to that. So probably the middle solution that I have been hearing over the past 2 days is that a middle point would be that the Hamas forces will not come there. Israeli forces may, and this is a big may, withdraw, and there would be a third party force which will man the areas in and around the distribution centers.
All right.
Now, will any third party like the Saudis, like the Egyptians or anybody else agree? I don't know.
All right. Dr. Farah Naz also joins us online after hiatus. Dr. Farah, welcome to Newsroom. It had been quite a long time since we last discussed or talked on any issue. So let's begin without further ado. We are talking about the peace talks that are going on in Doha between the Israeli and the Palestinian sides. And our guest in the studio, Dr. Saad, is quite apprehensive and has his concerns about the longevity of such a peace deal. I'd like to move directly to the Donald Trump-Netanyahu meeting. They met twice in the US since he has arrived there. I'd like to, understand, when you look at the different comments that emanated after the meeting, before the meeting, the statement by Netanyahu, there doesn't seem to be any headway as far as the future of any peace deal between Israel and Palestine is concerned.
Thank you, Umar, for having me on your show. Well, whatever I picked from the broken sound that was coming, that probably you're asking about Netanyahu and President Trump's meeting in Washington. And maybe you're asking about what is coming out of that meeting. So in general, I don't see any fruitful or anything that is positive for the Palestinians coming out from this meeting. It is more like, a theater that is established in designing some kind of strategies through which they're going to make the life of the Palestinians and the Gazans more miserable. So they are more thinking and talking on the lines how to push them towards the Rafah territory, which is like mostly like, full of rubble, and there is nothing over there. So they are trying to push 600,000 people to that side, and then they're going to lock them. So this is raising concerns about humanitarian crisis, humanitarian issues, and human rights violations. So from all this meeting, only one thing that I could get was that they were planning how to push those people towards Rafah and how to lock them up. And other than that, I don't see there, if we talk about even the ceasefire, its continuation, the hostages and all those arrangements, nothing concrete is coming out.
All right, I'd like to cite something that Netanyahu said and posted, in fact, on his X. He said, I think the Palestinians, quote unquote, I think the Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves, but none of the powers to threaten us. That means a sovereign power like overall security will always remain in our hands, quote unquote. Your take?
Yep, sorry again, the line is not very good, but what I got was maybe you're asking about that the Palestinians may have the right, but the sovereign power still will rely or lies with Netanyahu. Yes, Netanyahu has been very open and blunt about that. Whatever happens in Gaza after this, he will be the one who's going to control them. What sort of control he's going to put in place, that is his design. So it's not like that after killing, or having this massacre or this butchery or the genocide, is there something coming out fruitful for the people in Gaza? No, I don't see that. At least that is coming out in the future. And with all these meetings, like in a short span of time, there were frequent visits of Netanyahu to Washington, and then President Trump also being not, it doesn't look like that he's very positive about bringing something very good and concrete for the people in Gaza. It's not coming out. The ceasefire was a good gesture, but the people in Gaza needs a permanent ceasefire. They do not want that Netanyahu and his government is going to control their lives in Rafah, where they're trying to cage them one more time. So that will be like, again, a prison, and that prison will be directly, the keys of that prison will directly lies with Netanyahu. So that's not something that is coming out. The outcome, the ultimate, the control, ultimately how to deal with their lives, it's all going to be in the hands of Netanyahu. And we have seen how Netanyahu has tortured them, bullied them, killed them. And even with the recent ones, when even food was getting delivered, they opened fire on the people who were there to come and pick the food. So we know what sort of atrocities Netanyahu is capable of. He can do anything to make their life a hell. This is his ultimate objective. He wants them to surrender to the Netanyahu government. He wants them to surrender in front of the Netanyahu people so they can govern them. And this is what Netanyahu is not even shying away from saying, that he wants them to make them settle wherever he wants them to be, rather than they having the liberty if they want to go there to move to Rafah or not to move to Rafah. So he's like playing with their lives. He's playing with the children. He's playing with their liberties and rights and everything. And secondly, the most important thing that with all of this is coming out, that even Netanyahu and his followers, they are taking the international law as anti-Semitic towards them as well. So this is like a bit too much, like how they're going to take those statements which the international law, the international regulations, they do not approve of all these atrocities and genocides. So if they do not approve, in case of here, Netanyahu wants to be a hero, but they are not declaring him as a hero, but he's a villain in the story. But according to him, that this is something really bad towards the people of Israel, and these international law are anti-Semitic towards us. So what can somebody say to such a mindset which is so strong?
I mean, we are all like yourself, like myself. We are speechless at the way things are moving, and especially the way Netanyahu is steering things along. Dr. Saad, what is the fate of the two-state solution in this case?
There is no other way except the two-state solution. It's only a matter of time, because if he says that I am not going to give them another state.
So where is the two-state solution? It means there is no two-state solution.
It means there is no solution. It means there would be war again. There would be atrocities again. But and that's what the sticking point is, because Israel insists that Hamas has to dissolve itself. Hamas is if Palestinians do not have their own security forces, then the same atrocities that occupation forces had continued for the past few decades will continue. And that's why Hamas refuses to be banished from Palestine. Hamas refuses to be disbanded, disarmed, and that is why this is the main sticking point. Hamas says, you have killed people, now withdraw, at least let other people, let our people live in peace. Hamas has also agreed to release 10 of the prisoners it had, 10 on the first day of the 60-day ceasefire and 2 on the last day of the. so that at least 60 days it holds. In response, it is asking for at least 1,000 Palestinians to be released, because there are 10,800 Palestinians still under illegal detention and torture centers, in the torture centers of the Israeli
More than
regime.
450 of them are children.
Yes, and 3,600 are women, innocent civilians with nothing to do with politics or the armed struggle.
I agree with you on that. Farah, if you can hear me properly, I'd like to go towards a statement that was made by the Israeli Defense Minister Katz. He talked about a humanitarian city that he proposed to concentrate 600,000 Palestinians in southern Gaza's Rafah area, which seems to me as a plan for ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. How do you see that? Do you feel such a plan can be implemented?
Well, this is what I was referring to earlier as well, that they are trying to push 600,000 people to the rubble area that is there in Gaza that they destroyed. It was never like that before. They destroyed it. And then they're also coming with a plan that once these people, 600,000 Gazans, once they move to that territory, which they call as a humanitarian city, then they're going to put a seal around it. So whatever goes inside, whatever comes out, that has to take approval from the Israeli government. I don't know what sort of cage they are building for 600,000 people over there. And then we are aware of the fact that the way they will be dealing with those people inside, they're going to make sure that their life is as bad as possible. But what logic they are providing to this kind of movement is that there would be a proper screening done. Proper security will be put in place, so nobody from Hamas can enter over there.
Basically, Farah, it's all logic that suits the purposes of the Israeli side. I mean, that is how things are moving along, and that is how things might move until there is proper intervention from the powers that be from the Western side. We have to go to a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the visit of two ministers from Turkey, our brotherly country, to Pakistan. The Foreign Minister of Turkey as well as the Minister for National Defense, who are both here, who have met different important leaders, whether it be the Deputy Prime Minister or the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Haseena Sahab, whom both met, whether it be Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, our Prime Minister, who also met both the leaders, whether it be the Chief of the Air Staff, who also met the Minister for National Defense. Important details emerged out of those meetings, and this is what we're going to discuss in the whole context of the relationship between Pakistan and Turkey. Dr. Saad, how does the strengthening of the Pakistan-Turkey strategic partnership through visits such as these challenge all those designs, hegemonic or otherwise, in South Asia and promote a multipolar regional order?
For the moment, South Asia is a bipolar regional order between Pakistan and India, and all other countries, the smaller brotherly nations, are actually not. They usually try not to take sides. You know, the countries like Nepal and Sri Lanka, etc., etc. Most of them are more friendly with us than they are with them, with the other side. Now, in the international scene, Pakistan has a much more strong standing on moral grounds than India or any other country. For example, there was not one country during Operation Bunyana Masood which had given unequivocal support to Indians. But for us, China, Azerbaijan, Turkey, you name a country, and all our friends stood with us. And I think this visit is very, very important, because right after the hostilities have ended within 7 to 8 weeks, two of the most important ministers from our brotherly state of Turkey are here. And that shows the depth of our relationship with them that lasts over centuries, much before the creation of Pakistan. Even in the Khilafat movement, when Pakistan was even not created, thousands and thousands and thousands of Muslims of South Asia, what is now India and Pakistan, sacrificed their lives against police bullets to support the Turkey. And I think this latest visit, because they are having high-level meetings with our military leadership, with our political leadership, with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and that is going to strengthen the relationships to new heights.
All right. All
Yes.
right. Dr. Saad, also, speaking of new heights, let's also talk about trade and investment. Our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, while he met with the Minister for National Defence and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, talked about, inviting Turkish investors to invest in Pakistan to boost relations in the field and also boost Pakistan's economy as well. In that respect, there was also this discussion in the meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister on the plan to establish a special economic zone for Turkish entrepreneurs in Karachi for boosting bilateral trade and investment. How do you see these statements? How do you see these measures that could be taken in order to further enhance the relationship in the trade avenue between both sides?
Turkey's economic footprint in Pakistan has already been very high for the last few decades. They have been investing, they have been given contracts, for example, of a Turkish taxi service in Lahore, the waste management company in Lahore, the M1 section of the motorway, the construction was given to a Turkish company. Turkey has been involved with Pakistan's economy as a brother for a long, long time. And now under the SIFC and the present government's open-mindedness towards foreign investment, we are trying to facilitate the Turkish investors by creating special windows for them, a special economic zone for them. And that is, I think, a very, very positive development, because Pakistan is in need of more investments to sustain our economy. And we should hope that Pakistani companies themselves are big enough that we also offer them that there are certain sectors within Turkey which Pakistan's investor companies would go and invest. A time will come very soon, inshallah. But for the moment, there are several ways in which Pakistan is helping Turkey. For example, in the training needs, especially in Air Force, their technical needs, they have been, Turkish pilots have been training in Pakistan. Their engineers have been getting training in Pakistan for their technical needs for their own Air Force. So actually it's a symbiotic relationship, it's a bilateral relationship. We have a lot of commonality, and I think this visit is going to strengthen that commonality of interests.
All right. Farah, coming to the different facets of the relations between Pakistan and Turkey, and there are so many that it would take a long time to discuss all of that. But let's talk about the intensification of joint offshore drilling, shipbreaking, water management projects. How does that convey the evolving economic partnership between both sides? And do you feel both sides are moving along in the right direction as far as solidification of these ties is concerned?
Well, Umar, there is only one direction when it comes to sorry. So when it comes to the Turkey and Pakistan relationship, there is only one direction, and that is brotherly relationship between the two. It's not the first time that Turkey and Pakistan, they are engaging in bilateral engagement. They have always been together. Whenever Pakistan needed, Turkey stood by Pakistan like a strong iron brother, like a brother, actual one. So this time when they are going for joint kind of, engagement, this will be a huge thing for the regional powers, for the regional countries to look into, and even for the international players to look into as well. And this kind of meeting that took place this time, and this visit, it was very comprehensive. So from trade to mining to energy sector to education to tourism to terrorism to defense and to even joint ventures, everything has been touched upon. So this is really amazing. That is going to bring the two countries more and more closer. We are already one and the same, but this will provide more avenues and opportunities from both sides of the countries to come more closer towards each other. Of course, Turkey holds lots of potential and capabilities, and Pakistan is equally good in lots of stuff. So if they both share their mutual interest and their mutual kind of collaboration and whatever they can offer each other, both are going to be benefited. So I see this partnership more beneficial for Turkey and for Pakistan at the same time.
How important is Turkey's point of view on backing Pakistan's role in regional stability, especially looking at the recent events when also Turkey backed Pakistan in the recent conflict with India?
Definitely, Turkey stood, as I said, always by Pakistan's side. And when India attacked Pakistan, Turkey like at the first place, it condemned Indians' attack. So that was loud and clear. That what is Turkey's stance on this war, and we have seen it. It's not this time only. Even back in time, Turkey always stood by us whenever we needed them. So this kind of further deliberation, engagement, and mutual cooperation between the two is going to bring them more closer towards each other. And the most common element between the two is their defense relationship and defense ties. I'm aware of that there is a lot of discussion going on about unmanned aerial vehicles, that is the drones technology, which is going to be transferred to Pakistan. So this is like something, beneficial for both countries. If Turkey is good at something, why not we also get benefit from it? But as I said, this partnership, this relationship may not be liked by many countries in the world, and they will create lots of hurdles on the way towards, bringing this relationship towards some kind of problematic front. But I'm glad that Turkey and Pakistan, they've always known each other inside out, so they will never become a prey to such kind of controversial relationship that they will try to, to bring between the two of them. Another important thing between the two is the terrorism and counter-terrorism trainings. So Pakistan has unfortunately confronted with lots of terrorism activities, and terrorism Pakistan has always struggled to deal with, and they have the expertise of the counter-terrorism strategies as well. So this is where Turkey probably will be looking up towards Pakistan to get benefit from Pakistan experiences and how Pakistan dealt with it. The counter-terrorism strategies worked and what did not work for both countries. All these things, both countries, both sides are trying to utilize what potential, what they can offer towards each other, and how they're going to benefit it from it. So it's a win-win for both countries.
It's a definite win-win for both countries. Last question as far as this segment is concerned. Given the shared vision of peace and prosperity that both Turkey and Pakistan have, how can they together influence broader Islamic world cooperation, particularly in forums such as the OIC or the ECO for that matter?
I think Pakistan and Turkey are stabilizing forces in their own regions. Pakistan, for example, is a stabilizing force in South Asia because we have always stood by morality. Turkey has always stood by morality. Turkey has never let itself be influenced by economic consideration, trade considerations in supporting Pakistan on Jammu and Kashmir. That even some Muslim countries had been very cordial towards India in anticipation of more trade and investment relations. Turkey has never done so. So I think a country which always stands on moral principles, like Pakistan, like Turkey, we have the strongest credentials other than a few other nations, as you all know, as we all know, the nations that have the leadership of Muslim world, like Saudi Arabia, like Malaysia. We have the potential of gearing the Muslim world towards a united future. And whenever it happens, the Turkey's role, Pakistan's role, or Saudi Arabian role will always be written with golden words.
All right. With golden words is what the relationship between Pakistan and Turkey will always be written, and that is of course further cemented by the fact that two important ministers are currently visiting their brotherly country of Pakistan. Our next segment concerns Narendra Modi, India, and how India under this rule is engulfed in linguistic and religious hatred, whether it be putting aside important languages such as the Kashmiri or Urdu and putting forward other languages such as Marathi, whether it be trying to create rifts between different races and different sects within India. This is something that Modi and his government are currently trying to master, but the consequences could be deadly. Farah, how has Prime Minister Narendra Modi's all right, before I go to Dr. Farah, I'll again ask this question to Dr. Sada. How has Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tenure contributed to the rise of linguistic and religious divisions across India?
I even hear Indian analysts saying that with the leadership like the BJP has, India does not need any enemies, because what they are doing is destroying their own nation. As a political unity, as a strategic unity, when they started their movement against Urdu language, that was decades back. The Indian government, successive governments, that Urdu, script has to be replaced by Hindi script, and gradually Urdu was removed from school curricula, and eventually people started burning billboards which were not written in Hindi but in Urdu script, because colloquially we can, both languages are intelligible, but written script is totally different. Now the buck did not stop there. Now the buck has gone to the other languages like Bengali and like Marathi, and there was a recent incident where a street hawker was tortured by BJP
For
goons
not speaking Marathi.
for not speaking Marathi. Yeah. So when he replied in Hindi, people started beating him, and so when it's somebody is just his restaurant is burnt on mere suspicion that he's selling beef as well. Now it has gone to language, and that is something that I think is very disastrous for India itself.
Add to that what is happening with the azan in Mumbai. They have banned their use of loudspeakers for azan. This was also reported by the Indian channel NDTV. You talked the street vendor who was attacked by the MNS party for not speaking Marathi. How does these incidents now being reported by Indian channels also reveal about the growing culture of linguistic intolerance in India? Are people understanding what the Modi government is trying to do to them?
I think many people are, because in the first victory of Modi in 2014, he had something like 80% seats. In the second victory, the margin of victory was much less. Now they are a minority government. They do not have even 50% of the seats. So that shows that gradually the Indian people are understanding that what is being done to them is not good for their country. So actually, Pakistan is a very lucky country, because Urdu was not mother tongue of Punjab or Sindh or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or Balochistan when Pakistan was created. But Urdu has gradually been gained acceptability on television news channels, on newspapers, everywhere, where a Sindhi or a Punjabi or a Balochi, takes pride in speaking Urdu. But Hindi has become very, very controversial because of his policies. In South India, people sometimes hate people who speak Hindi, as the incident in Bombay testifies. So gradually, actually, they are doing a disservice to their national language, which is Hindi, and they are doing a disservice to their national unity. And that actually goes against their own country, whatever they are doing. So I think the parties like RSS and MNS, which was behind this incident, and BJP itself, they are doing no service to their people, and gradually even their people are realizing that placing hatred in the minds of people because of ethnicity or linguistic identity is not good for them.
Why use language as a tool for violence and identity politics?
I think they think, or probably in the decision makers in Delhi, probably they think that they use language to put discord in Pakistan and whatever happened in our eastern wing in 1971. But I don't think so that they can replicate the model anywhere itself, because that will become a dragon that will actually come back to haunt themselves.
That is true. Farah, thank you again for continuing to join us. This shift from cow-related religious extremism that we've talked about many a times in the past to now linguistic fascism, is this indicative in your point of view of a broader socio-political crisis in India? Will India be able to control it if it goes beyond their their hands or beyond their measures?
Yeah, so all what I gathered from the broken words was that the elements of extremism and fascism that is there on the cards of Modi, right? Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay. So, since like Modi, it's not the first time that he is coming up with extremist ideology and beliefs and perspectives. We are always and always, coming across lots of extremist acts towards a particular group of people in his own country. But this time, he is going more aggressive towards it. And if I be more vocal about his cause, dealing with the Muslim community in India is always a prime, like flashing point for him. This is how he's going to bank his election on the basis of that once he get in power, he's going to bring all these minorities into various corners of the country. But ultimately, I think in this day and age, things are becoming more and more open to the international forum as well. And people are realizing that whatever you are doing inside, it will have a spillover effects over you as well. So that is the reason that the Indian narrative is not getting more popular in the Western world, where all those countries who are aware of what India is doing within this country and what India is promoting outside, these are completely two polar ideas. So this bipolarity of Modi government and his Hindutva ideology is not gaining any fruits in the future. But yes, whatever he's doing inside, This is not acceptable by all ways and means. If they call themselves a democracy,
Dr. Farah, it's not also not going to be acceptable in the long term by the people within India itself, by the way, with the way India and the Indian government is moving towards fascism in all these different fields, cow vigilantism, or other forms of extremism, religious sectarian extremism, and now the language fascism. Thank you very much, Dr. Farah Nazar, to have joined us. Next, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Haseena, who has now, there's a concrete proof as per an audio that was released and confirmed through various technologies by BBCI that a deadly crackdown on student-led protests in Bangladesh last year was authorized, in fact, by her. And this is huge news. Dr. Saad, what does this leaked audio of Sheikh Haseena that leaked a couple of months back, but now it has been confirmed by BBCI, reveal about her role in authorizing violence in 2024 protests in Bangladesh that changed the entire scenario in the country?
I think Awami League in Bangladesh is just like BJP in India, has been, running the country in the name of democracy with an iron fist. I mean, the way peaceful demonstrations of unarmed students have been treated ever in the history within India or within Bangladesh goes against all norms of democratic behavior. I think it was never unclear to any serious observer of Bangladeshi politics that whatever was happening, the mass murder of the students, was authorized by the highest echelons of power within Dhaka at that time. But what is good about this leak is, and since the leak has been verified by artificial intelligence and other sources, technical and the technical means, that it was in fact the voice of a telephone call by Haseena Wajid when she was the Prime Minister, 18 July 2024, is that it will strengthen the hand of the prosecution, because the same so-called war crimes courts that she had established to target
is now targeting her, in fact.
Exactly.
And how they say a reversal of fortune happens. Thank you very much, Dr. Saad, to have talked to us about this segment. Last two stories, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly. The first concerns Iran's Foreign Minister, Mr. Arakchi, and the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman have met in Jeddah for talks. Saudi Arabia's official news agency SPA says Arakchi and Prince Mohammed reviewed bilateral relations and discussed the latest regional developments and the efforts being made in that regard. And this is a very welcome development as far as both the countries is concerned, and also specifically as far as Iran is concerned, because of the latest situation with Israel, the conflict with Israel. And now we see a strengthening of bonds between different Islamic countries and a commonality of viewpoints also being discussed between all of them, especially now the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran, that are two important partners in the Muslim world. Last story, ladies and gentlemen, the month of June has been the hottest on record in Europe, especially in Western Europe, also in Southern Europe. The people, of course, in Europe, they can't bear the extreme heats. We here in Pakistan and other countries understand what that is all about. They don't even put ACs or fans, but now they have witnessed the heat wave, which they say is the hottest on record ever in Europe. But also they say that globally this has been the third hottest June ever across the world. Climate change is to be blamed, and we need to do the needful before it becomes too late. COP is here for that, and that is what such mechanisms need to be implemented in the actions that have been taken, whether it be climate justice, climate action on countries that are susceptible, including Pakistan, need to be taken, need to have the broad-based backing of all the important leaders, countries in the West, in the East, in the North, and in the South. We see the forest fires that are happening, we see the floods that are happening, we see the earthquakes that are happening. There are all manifestations of climate change. Let's hope sanity prevails. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.